The story begins with Louise Banks, a linguistics professor, narrating images of her daughter, Hannah. We see a quiet, emotionally intimate montage, the birth of her child, moments of play and laughter, illness, and death. The sequence is poignant, reflective, and framed as a memory. Soon after, Louise is shown heading to work. On her way, she sees a bunch of people gathered around a television. She ignores and goes to her class. When she arrives to teach her lecture, only a few students are present. She begins her lecture, but everyone's phones start ringing. One of them asks her to turn on the news. That's when she learns, 12 unidentified extraterrestrial spacecraft have appeared around the globe. The arrival of the massive alien vessels triggers global panic. Everyone is running, cars are driving into each other. Each ship hovers just above ground in remote areas across various continents. Their appearance is unlike anything humans have seen. Towering, smooth, gray-black ovals floating vertically. The next day, she heads back to work, but this time, the lecture hall is empty. She returns to her office and decides to watch the news instead. The U.S. military, trying to establish communication, reaches out to Louise, an expert in linguistics and someone who has helped them out with previous projects. Colonel Weber visits her office and plays audio recordings of the alien speech, a series of low, modulated, whale-like tones. He asks her to help translate. Louise insists that authentic translation requires context and direct interaction, not just audio samples. Weber refuses and leaves, assuming Louise just wants to visit the alien site. She offers a challenge to whomever the colonel will try to recruit next. He returns later, obviously unsuccessful at further recruitment attempts, this time with a helicopter to take her to the Montana site, one of the 12 global landing zones. On the way there, Louise meets Ian Donnelly, a theoretical physicist brought in to help decode the alien science. They are briefed and suited up before their first entry into the alien craft. The opening of the entrance occurs every 18 hours. The craft opens, revealing a shaft. Louise, Ian, and the team enter via a cherry picker. At a certain level, a soldier throws a flare upwards, which sticks to the wall. Gravity appears to work differently up there, possibly the result of advanced technology. They jump off and walk up the wall, transitioning to a gravity-defying orientation. At the end of the corridor is a transparent barrier. Beyond it, obscured in mist, stand two towering seven-limbed beings, heptapods, eventually nicknamed Abbott and Costello. They float and move in graceful, alien rhythms. Initial contact is cautious and confusing. There is a bird cage placed at the maximum distance they have dared to venture towards the barrier, to monitor any changes in the environmental air. The creatures emit deep vocalizations, but communication fails. Louise makes a breakthrough by abandoning spoken language and using writing. The colonel argues, saying that it will take longer, but Louise holds her ground, saying without proper understanding, messages under high risk of misinterpretation. She holds up a whiteboard with the word human and points to herself. The heptapods respond by ejecting a black inky substance into the air, forming a circular logogram, the first clear instance of their written language. They begin work on how to interpret these logograms. Meanwhile, Louise starts slow, only introducing simple terms. The colonel raises the issue again, he wants only to know what the purpose of the aliens is. Louise explains that without a proper baseline vocabulary, the risk of misunderstanding is too high. In the next visit, Louise decides to strip the hazmat suit, and goes beyond the bird cage, claiming the aliens need to see her for proper communication to take place. The soldiers panic but they receive orders to let them through. Ian follows suit. After this session, Louise seems to struggle even more with her flashbacks. The team begins work on trying to understand the language. They realize that the aliens communicate through these complex circular symbols, each one an expression of complete thought. Unlike human writing, their symbols have no beginning or end and are constructed non-linearly, they write entire ideas all at once. During their downtime, Ian and Louise connect. Ian praises Louise for her approach towards the language like a mathematician. He jokes that his weakness in communication is why he is single, to which Louise counter-argue, she is single as well. Meanwhile, the soldiers, who have nothing else to do in the 18 hours in between communications, listen to mainstream news as well as conspiracy theorists. Now with a foundation established, Louise and Ian begin exchanging written vocabulary. Louise introduces herself, Louise. She learns the logogram for Ian, walk, and others. Over time, Louise becomes increasingly fluent. As her comprehension deepens, she begins to experience disorienting dreams or visions involving her daughter, though she doesn't understand why she's seeing them. One day, after a long session, Ian and Louise discuss about how language shapes cognition, a subtle nod to the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which posits that language influences how people perceive reality. The US hack into a Chinese communication. They realize the Chinese are using board games for communication. This scares Louise, as with games, the outcomes are victory and defeat, and therefore, all messages will be interpreted only as such. Meanwhile, Louise's visions of her daughter intensify, and she begins to suffer vivid dreams and hallucinations. Initially, global teams work in unison, exchanging information and making significant progress. Suddenly, the Montana team receives a shocking message. The heptapods present a circular symbol whose elements translate to "offer weapon." Louise and Ian are alarmed but cautious. Louise argues that "weapon" could be a mistranslation. In the heptapod's context, the symbol might mean tool or gift. The circular language lacks subject-object distinctions, making precise meaning difficult. However, a message that other teams received spooks them, and they decide to cut off communications. Tensions rise globally as each country's team progresses independently. China's General Shang declares a communications blackout and prepares for military action. Other countries, including Russia and Pakistan, follow suit. Fear spreads. Some believe the aliens are urging humans to attack or defend themselves. Back at the base, a rogue group of US soldiers, influenced by media fearmongering and growing paranoia, plants a bomb inside the next payload scheduled to be sent into the alien ship. Louise and Ian enter the chamber, unaware of the sabotage. The soldiers have cut communications with the base, and to investigate, the colonel sends security. On seeing this, the soldiers get ready for a gunfight. The heptapods appear, seemingly urgent. They begin to tap on the barrier. Louise approaches and touches it, and she suddenly experiences intense visions. After months of work on the language and this new experience, she begins to write in their language on the barrier alongside the aliens. Suddenly, one alien releases a new, dense message of interconnected symbols, the most elaborate yet, and leaves. The alien that stayed behind, in an act of sacrifice, suddenly manipulates gravity within the chamber, so that Louise and Ian are expelled into the shaft just as the bomb goes off. The humans survive, but the alien chamber is damaged, and the ship stops opening. Later, the ship rises higher above the ground. Communication seems lost. Other world powers begin to prepare an assault on the ships. However, Ian has a breakthrough. He realizes that the message is incomplete, and that it is exactly 1 in 12, meaning that the world powers must share their information to get the full message. The officials in the camp argue over the meaning. Louise sees a vision of herself inside with the aliens. She rushes out into the field below the alien vessel. Then, a small black pod detaches from the ship and hovers down to her. It opens and Louise enters. She is taken into the ship, opposite the barrier. Costello, now alone, appears. He is way larger than they initially saw. He communicates that Abbott has died. Costello shows her a sequence of symbols. Costello tells her through these, Louise has weapon. Use weapon. We need humanity's help in 3,000 years. She begins to experience different moments of her life all at once. She becomes extremely overwhelmed by all this information. In a vision, she reveals to her daughter that she confided something in her husband, which angered him, causing him to leave. Louise goes through old logograms. She understands all of it and realizes what this weapon is. It is the understanding of their language, a gift, misinterpreted as weapon, because sometimes, humans cannot tell the difference between the two. They are giving humanity the ability to see time as they do, a gift in exchange of help because they will need humans' assistance 3,000 years from now. By understanding it, humans will unlock nonlinear consciousness. In another vision of the future, she's at a diplomatic gala. Chinese General Shang approaches and thanks her for stopping the conflict. He tells her that she called him during the crisis, using his private number, and convinced him to stand down by quoting his late wife's last words. Louise doesn't yet know any of this, but now that she has access to the future, she remembers it as if it has already happened. Back in the present, she runs to a satellite phone and accesses the number from this memory. The camp officials pick up an outgoing call to China. They start to search the base. She runs and locks herself in a room. The soldiers find her and threaten to shoot. Meanwhile, Ian manages to enter the room from the other door and puts himself between the soldiers and Louise. She manages to call Shang and repeat his wife's words. It works. He calls off the military action. One by one, the other nations follow suit. The alien ships begin to ascend and vanish. They came, they shared, and they left peacefully. As the crisis ends, Ian and Louise stand outside together. Louise now has seen the entirety of her life played out. She knows that she will marry Ian, they will have a girl called Hannah, that she will have a rare disease causing her to pass away young, and that Ian will leave because of her decision to go through with marrying and having Hannah despite knowing her fate. Despite this, she chooses to go through with life as she sees it, to embrace motherhood and a married life, along with the losses that come with it.